All right, this was on Monday Night Football. We saw Brock Purdy throw 3 picks in 3 consecutive drives. He has now thrown 5 touchdowns and 11 picks in his career on Monday night. He's not great at rising to the occasion and showcasing his abilities, at least on that day of the week. What did you see from Brock? Is it the toe? Is it something else?
Well, happy Thanksgiving, first of all, Grant, to you and all your listeners. I hate to say this, but in going back and analyzing everything, there's a combination of quarterback, wide receiver, and head coach, all of whom figure into those 3 interceptions. And you and I have discussed this over the years. I've never been really a very good fan of what I call route discipline by 49er receivers. Sometimes I have problems with their releases versus bump and run, and then I really have a problem with the quality of the routes that they run. And for example, you go back to the first interception where Brock was throwing that square in route to Jennings on the left side of the field, down low in their, what are they, on their own 10, 12-yard line or whatever. But you go back and you look at it, and they're trying to run an in route, what you call a dig. The square in, one of Kyle's favorite passes. You got to look at the horizontal alignment of where you want the route to break, in addition to the vertical depth at which you wish the route to break. And when you run a square in as a single receiver on the single side of the formation, over the years, we found that success came when you start your breaking point about a yard outside the numbers. Because I want the football thrown to the receiver before he gets even 4 yards inside the numbers. And over the years, you look at the picks that the Niners have thrown, regardless of the quarterback, interceptions on those in-breaking routes always has occurred where? In the middle of the field. Now, from a theoretical perspective, from a understanding of the concept of the horizontal field, how it's laid out, and how defenses drop, whether it's a spot drop or match drops, or where the free defenders are going to deploy, you cannot wait to throw the in route that far into the middle of the field because of the traffic and of the time that you allow, if it's man coverage, for the corner to recover. So when you go back and you look at Jennings' route, he's on top of almost, or on inside edge of the numbers when he begins his speed cut, which is really like running a banana. And the other thing about that route, besides the error where the horizontal break began, is that we always used to preach to the receivers, whether it's Freddie Biletnikoff, Cliff Branch, James Lofton, Timmy Brown, Willie Gault, the myriad of speed talent we had. When you come out of your break, the 3 things: don't fade, don't float, don't drift. And so we would take a cheat step to the post at the very top of the break and then snap that thing off. And from that point, we are going to be able to create separation at the break. Now, Jennings has separation at the break, but he floated almost 6 yards vertically up the field after his breaking point, which allowed the defensive back, A, to close, and B, to undercut the route. And then the route was thrown too far in, the ball was thrown too far inside because the timing wasn't there. And so the defensive back was able to make the play. So there's a combination of the design of where the breaking point is for the route, how the route is finished, and then when the ball comes up, and Brock did not really anticipate it. There was daylight at the breaking point. But then by the time, Jennings finished rounding off his banana in, and then by the time Brock got the ball up, it was too late.
So you put this almost as much on the wide receivers or more on the wide receivers than Brock, at least this first interception.
Well, the thing about it is, you know what? Somebody is allowing Jennings to run that in route that way. So it goes back to the drawing board. It goes back to the concept of the in route, how it's being taught, the philosophy of the organization, or Kyle as the orchestrator of the offense, and how that route's being run. And see, Look
I
at
see. So you look at that as like a design issue, an execution issue from the wide receiver. Like whether or not Brock Purdy floated the pass or not, it was doomed from the beginning.
correct for
Yeah.
a myriad of reasons.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's coached. Does Kyle say, okay, I want your breaking point on this square and route to be on the numbers, a yard outside the numbers, inside edge of the numbers, or wherever that is. So for all you know, Jennings is where he's supposed to be horizontally and vertically at the concept.
Well, it's interesting. Jennings is more of a slot receiver. I'd have to go back and look at the play and see what his split was. When Purdy was at his best 2 years ago, his number one target was Brandon Ayuk, who's a much better receiver than Jawan Jennings, faster, threatens more areas of the field, and Brock could throw those square ends to Ayuk with a lot of anticipation because he could trust that Ayuk would win and be in the right spot at the right time. When I asked Brock after the game and yesterday, like, what was going on these passes? He's like, I hitched too many times. I didn't anticipate. I didn't let it rip. I mean, is that a toe thing, or is that like I don't really trust these wide receivers thing?
It's a combination of everything.
Right.
Obviously, he is not playing at his 100% capacity physically. And secondly, there is a timing issue. Third, there is a quality of the way the route is being run. And there's a problem also with Brock's anticipation. And like on the second interception, when he missed on the throw to the end zone on the double post concept, he had to step up and avoid some pressure, so he was late to make the throw. The receiver, it was a beautiful route. Oh, when you saw the thing lay out, you're going like, oh, this is 6 points. But then he sees the flash of the jersey coming on his left shoulder side, so he has to take a second hitch or a second reset in the pocket. And then he almost moved up to the point where he was throwing it on the run. And then he tried to flatline that ball into the end zone. And by that time, it's gone. That's not the way to throw that ball. The defensive back, when you get down to the goal line like that, well, there's no place vertically for the defensive back about which to be worried. So he's running flat and he comes underneath the throw and makes the pick. At that point, Brock had two choices. One, top the ball off and throw it over the top that make it come down inside the back line and have a tap by the wide receiver, or he could have just run. He had daylight in front of him, or he could have checked the ball down either to Kittle or to McCaffrey. But to try to throw it on a line that distance, that late, to the part of the field where the defensive back is no longer vertically threatened and now can close horizontally on the receiver and undercut the throw, it's an interception.
When you watched Purdy in this game and you see how his ball is floating down the field, he was very accurate and efficient on the short passes. So was Mac Jones. And the reason they went back to Brock Purdy is because Brock Purdy was supposed to be more aggressive pushing the ball down the field, and he is. But it seems like when he pushes the ball down the field this year, he gets intercepted. Again, is that because of him? Is he throwing the ball differently? Is it coming out of his hand differently from what you see, or is he just missing Brandon Ayuk?
Well, obviously you're missing Ayuk because the kid's a quality receiver and has great talent. But the bottom line also, regardless of Brock's, physical set where he is towed, throwing the ball firmly, can't load up and turn it loose. By the same token, I think the receivers can do a little bit more to be able to create some vertical separation against the corner, which will then give Brock a little bit more room for error when he does make the throw. It's hard. You very seldom see him miss overthrowing a receiver. And that's a problem. So then if I know that there are limitations vertically on how well he can throw the ball, then I, as a receiver or as a play designer, have to orchestrate some movement, some stems or feelings in the receiver's routes so that when he finishes a move on a defensive back, then when he does accelerate, then that gives Brock that daylight into which to make the throw.
One more question about Brock. He's thrown 7 picks, 8 touchdowns in 4 games this year. He's thrown 9 picks in his last 5 starts. I mean, I understand they paid him and they believe in him and they like him. If you were his coach, maybe you'd feel the same way too. But at what point do you have to pull him? I mean, how many interceptions can he do it again this week against Cleveland? Like, where does he stand right now?
Okay, number one, the first thing is I would go back and look at which patterns or which throws are bringing about the interceptions. Okay, uh, if you track it and you analyze it and look at that respect, is he throwing his interceptions on where on the field are they coming? Are they coming on throws into the middle of the field? Are they coming on the throws deep outside? Are they coming on throws to the flat within the line of scrimmage and 12 to 15 yards deep? And I would look at the picks. Then my key thing is when I sit down with the quarterback going over any particular play, I say, okay, what did you see from your read, your progression, your secondary that made you choose to make that throw when you did? And then look at the timing, look at the relationship between you and the receiver at the breaking point and when the ball should have been up. And until I know what he saw and which triggered him to make that decision, until he tells me that, then I cannot fix it. I just can't chew his butt out or talk and say, well, you didn't do this, didn't do that. I got to find out what he thinks and what he saw that made him make that decision. And then I can fix what he sees to help improve him make a decision. So until I know what Brock thought, I can't fix it.
Can I tell you an incredible statistic from Brock? I mean, it's not about which patterns he's throwing the interceptions on, but it is a split stat. And, he's been in the league about 4 years. He's thrown 34 picks in his regular season career. 20 of those interceptions have come on first down. In his career, he's thrown 20 touchdowns and 20 picks on first down. And it seems like that's the down where he's by far the most aggressive. He's averaging 9.8 yards per pass attempt on first down. On second down, it goes down to 8. Third down, it's about 8. So he's really, really aggressive on first down to a fault sometimes, it seems like. And I understand it's a good down to be aggressive because you're facing base defenses and zone coverages. But there's kind of no excuse to turn the ball over that early when you don't have to. I mean, if it's one thing if it's 4th and 10, not 1st and 10.
Okay. Now here's a thought contrary maybe to Brock also, but is he being given plays on 1st and 10 that are determined to quote unquote bring about a big play, a shot play?
Right.
Now he's been talked into that mindset. So they says, Kyle wants this to be a big play. Kyle wants this to be a shot play. So therefore he's taking quote unquote that shot at the encouragement, at the direction, at the prompting of the head coach, who's also the play caller and the game plan designer. So now that could also be another contributing factor, rather than okay, here's the thing. If I want to help Brock, I'm going to call some quarterback friendly passes. Okay. I'm going to restrict my shot plays with him now until I can get his confidence and his completions and the rhythm in his game and his footwork and pitching and transferring body weight when he throws. I'm going to call a very quarterback friendly game for him in terms of throwing the ball.
Move the pocket, extended handoffs, all that, quick throws.
Exactly.
All day.
And now I'm going to get him back into where he feels good about himself and he feels confident. And then I may say, okay, now here's a shot pass. If it's not there, don't throw it. Check it down. I've got touchdowns for you. Go to your outlets. Release the ball underneath. Allow the catch and run. The other night, he had opportunities on those 3 picks to put the ball elsewhere, but he chose not to. I tell you, I watched that first interception on the throw to Jennings, and then I watched the interception on the third one on the middle in route on the inside. And oh my God, he had all kinds of time. He could have gone elsewhere. He had a Subway sandwich back there. I mean, it's a big joke about having the banana peel and eat that. He had all day.
And he was winning, and the Niners defense was playing well, and Carolina's offense is terrible. He could say that he liked the decisions, but those were throws he absolutely didn't have to make.
Okay. the throws were there if they would have been made when they should have been made and how they should have been made. So that's not the issue. The issue is why the hesitation, why the determination to bring the ball out later than he should have. What did he see that caused the hesitation? Those are the factors. But if executed correctly by the receiver and the quarterback, the throws were there. The plays were there.
Well, it's funny. Before we move on, Kurt Warner's on Twitter, and he does a really good job. He always defends quarterbacks after bad games, which is kind of generous of him. And he came out and was like, Brock reminds me of me. Like, that's the way I played. And when I played, I would really push the ball down the field with anticipation, and there'd be like 2 or 3 plays a game where I would throw a pick or the ball would hit the other team's hands, and I would get crushed for it. But it worked out, and I'm in the Hall of Fame. Essentially, what he said. And it seemed like, I remember the Kurt Warner experience when he had Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and Oz Hakeem and Marshall Faulk. He was great. But when you took those guys away, he became kind of an interception machine. And then he had to go to the Giants, and it didn't work out there. And he went to the Cardinals. It seems like to have a quarterback like that, you really have to have really good wide receivers. And I don't know if the Niners have that.
Well, here's the other thing. Excuse me. There is a science to passing the ball. You just don't draw it up in the dirt and go out there and execute it. There has to be precision, not only in the lines protection package, not only in the quarterback's footwork and read, but also in how the route is being run, how it's being executed. So you got to have all those elements working for you. So if you got the quarterback who's on the page, but the receiver's not on the page, you're going to have a problem. And right now, the Niners are all their pistons are not firing all on the same cylinder with the same rhythm and the same timing. And that's why you have as many issues with the lack of efficiency that they have when they're not throwing the ball to Kittle, when they're not throwing the ball to McCaffrey. And now Mac Jones had it with Bourne.
That's what I was saying. I was like, maybe they shouldn't have changed quarterbacks because he was in rhythm, 30, 33, 39.
Yeah, that's all hindsight. But the bottom line is, though, it's the other players with whom there is not the chemistry or the connectivity in the passing game. And that's where the focus should be on it. You can't go through the game thinking that Kittle and McCaffrey are going to win every ball game for you throwing the football.